So, welcome to episode 5 here of my podcast. Just still kind of trying things out, seeing how it's going, making little tweaks here and there. Today, I want to talk about two simple pages in the book 1984, and I've got it up right here. But I'm going to give it kind of an intro. These pages got on my radar about 2016. Alex Jones did a great It was about 12 minutes on his program one day. And shortly after that, his YouTube got nuked, and so it's pretty much impossible to find. But if anybody is a guru researcher out there and can find it somewhere on the internet, that would be awesome. It was about a 22-minute video clip of his daily program. And the first 12 minutes, he was just walking through the agenda that these two pages sort of correlate to. And like I said, it was just fantastic, really helped me sort of dial some things in. Just back then in 2016, I was still kind of getting my feet on this whole kind of new layer of what was going on out there above the established paradigm. But it was 22 minutes. The first 12 was that. The last 8 or 9 minutes was just a rant on Hillary Clinton. So if anybody out there knows that video that I'm talking about, and they have it, and just let me know. Send me a message, leave a comment, leave the link, whatever, because it was really good. I would love to watch that again. Since then, though, I've made these two pages sort of a go-to in a lot of things, where I may be responding to what I see out there in comments or posts or whatnot. So much of the agenda is in these two pages. And so I could see why he did a write-up of it, because what I see, it just says so much. So I want to kind of go through some of the key points that I've highlighted here, and kind of give my sort of breakdown of what I think it means as to what is going on today. All right, so let's jump in. So this is it's page 336 and 337. This is when O'Brien is interrogating Winston. If you've watched the movie, he's got him strapped down on the gurney, and he's torturing him. I don't know, for those that have watched that movie, good for you. That's a tough watch. It's not a great movie, but just for the sake of knowledge base and all that, I sat through it. So I recall this scene where this conversation has taken place. And it's probably, as far as watching the movie, it's one of the better parts of the movie. All right, so O'Brien's saying, so how does one man assert his power over another, Winston? And Winston thought, by making him suffer. He said, power is inflicting pain and humiliation. Power is in tearing human minds to pieces and putting them together in new shapes of your own choosing. So the first part of that, by making him suffer, and then here, let me read this too, because this is kind of key too. Exactly, by making him suffer, obedience is not enough. Unless he is suffering, how can you be sure that he is obeying your will and not his own? And what that kind of reminds me of is if you're in a situation where you feel like, okay, I just need to go along here because right now I can't win this situation I'm in, so I'm just going to go along. But you still have your own will. You still are in complete disagreement. You're still resistant to what is happening around you, but you're being obedient. And so I think what he's saying here is that's not enough. We need to make you suffer. We need to break you, and then you will obey us because you know and you believe that's the right thing to do. So this is just like severe psychological destruction that Orwell is writing of here, and it's pretty powerful stuff. Okay, so that is that point. So now, power inflicting pain and humiliation, tearing human minds to pieces, putting them together, new shapes of your own. As far as tying that to what's happening today, man. It's every day. It's out there. I think of that CIA, who was it? William Casey. It was back in the early 90s when he said, we'll know our disinformation campaign, or something to that effect, is complete when everything the American public believes is a lie. Right? That's tearing our minds to pieces, to where your own natural instincts, your own sense of right and wrong, your own understanding of what you think the world in reality is being assaulted every day by the most insane propaganda, and it's escalating day in and day out from the television you watch, which I really don't watch regular TV anymore unless I'm watching something to gain sort of knowledge of the system and what they're trying to show us. And I certainly, the only area I've probably watched a little bit this last year, kind of started watching football again, is a little distraction. But between how rigged a lot of that seems and the commercials, it's unwatchable. The programming, once you've detached yourself for as long as I have from it, trying to watch it, it's literally like watching the movie right here, They Live. That's exactly what this post is about. Trying to watch any kind of television programming. Once you've seen that and those commercials are just coming at you with what is not reality. It's twisted, contorted, agenda-driven propaganda, and it's just, you feel the assault on your mind. And that's some of what this is here. It's tearing human minds to pieces, and if you don't have a strong mind, it's going to break it down. And those commercials are going to program you. They're going to change the way you see reality, and that's what they're trying to do. The other piece of that is just everything that you believe to be normal you're being told it's not normal. And what better place to see that than in the trans agenda, and telling you that men can have babies and women can be men and men can be women. And that's just, it's such a mind effery, right? I mean, it's gaslighting. Sure, you can take on characterizations and all of that. And if little Susie wants to be a tomboy and she identifies with that, let her be a tomboy. Maybe her masculine is a little bit stronger than her feminine right now, but by the time she gets a little older, maybe she'll grow into the more natural feminine and she'll grow out of it, things like that. But right now they're telling you this is how it is, and they're telling 6-year-olds that this is what you can be. And once they unleash this sort of propaganda on the kids, man, it's game over. The kids of today, the elementary school age kids of today, 10, 15, 20 years from now when they're adults, you think things look crazy out there right now in terms of behavior and relationships and just all of the overt sexualization of pretty much everything and anything and anytime. It's going to be just next level, because they are literally tearing these children's minds to pieces, and they're putting them together in shapes of their own choosing. So that's a big one. That's big. This is happening right now in your face every day. We're being gaslit just by unbelievable propaganda. And if you know it's propaganda, you can be kind of armed against it, and it doesn't have the same effect. But I think for a lot of people that are younger, maybe under 30, and have been in this sort of crazy technology world their whole life, maybe a little harder to break free from it. I know a lot of people have. It's not necessarily an age thing, but I know what reality looked like 30, 40 years ago, and it wasn't this. So, they're really going after it right now. All right, so let's move on. All right, the old civilizations claimed that they were founded on love or justice. Ours is founded upon hatred. In our world, there will be no emotions except fear, rage, triumph, and self-abasement. All right, a couple things on that. I find it interesting that old civilizations claim they were founded on love or justice, and that reminds me of the sort of hippie counterculture. And if you do your research, there's a good chance that was basically hate to say it, CIA-driven narrative, and for the purpose of sort of putting a wedge into traditional culture, because they knew that was part of the strength of America, and they had to divide it and destroy it. And hippie counterculture was designed just for that, and people just fell right in line with it. And who couldn't back then? I mean, I grew up, my mom was a hippie. I grew up in a household that espoused all of that ideology, and she didn't know any better. She was young, and she was part of the culture, and that was just how a lot of things were, and a lot of people bought into it. And it was all about love and justice and openness and acceptance, right? So they basically, they primed the pump. They paved the way for what comes next, because that saying, hey, you need to just be tolerant, you just need to be inclusive, you just need to to be accepting, and then they slide in all of the agenda items that we're supposed to feel that way about, and that was all of the more the sexual agenda, all of that propaganda started coming in. And one of the things I was just researching over the weekend was the Kinsey report, and that predates the 60s by a little bit, and that was really what fueled a lot of the rise of the sexual revolution, and a lot of it was just it wasn't based on real scientific data and measurements. It was based on data and measurements that were skewed to get the result they wanted, which was to push the sexual revolution and break down traditional relationships. So it was all built, and you're supposed to be inclusive and tolerant of it. But then what comes in after that? Look at that 60s counterculture age group. Those are the baby boomers, right? Is that right? The baby boom? Yeah, baby boomers for the most part. And look at where we are now. And a lot of those baby boomers are now, I'm kind of the very tail end of the baby boomers, beginning of the Gen X, so never really related to that category. But that's who's in charge now. And you look at the power structure, a lot of them are that age. And here it's this comment about founded upon hatred, no emotion except fear, rage, triumph, self-abasement. That's what you're seeing now. So they paved the way for 30, 40 years of tolerance and inclusion, and now they're rolling out the self-abasement, the fear, the rage, and that's really what you're seeing a lot of. And it's because we're not being tolerant and inclusive and accepting of this unbelievable agenda. It's really the transhumanist agenda. I mean, you had eugenics, the early 20th century, that went underground and became transhumanism after World War II. And out of that came the feminist kind of revolution and the hippie revolution, and all of that paved the way for sort of where we are today. And they're now kind of really cranking up the fear and the rage and the self-abasement. And it's getting darker and darker by the day. That's how it looks to me. I just see it, I feel it, and it's encroaching upon our culture and little by little devouring it. So again, just Orwell in 2 pages just sums up everything that we're going through, and there's more here. So let's keep moving. So we have cut the links between child and parent, and between man and man, and between man and woman. Let's finish that off here, because this rolls into that too. So, but in the future there will be no wives and no friends. Children will be taken from their mothers at birth as one takes eggs from a hen. The sex instinct will be eradicated. Procreation will be an annual formality like the renewal of a ration card. All right, so let's start with cutting the links between child and parent, and between man and man and man and woman. So the child and parent, and just look at, again, the TV commercials. The kids know more. Just saw one today, and or maybe it was last night, trying to watch football. I eventually turned it off at halftime. I just couldn't take it anymore. The little sulking teenager jumps in the back seat and puts her little iPods on and rolls her eyes at the parents, right? And I didn't have the volume up, but I could just see the imagery of it was all the same crap that they're programming kids with. Total disrespect. They're just breaking the link. Show me a teenager, that respects and admires their parent and looks up to them. I'm not saying they're not out there, they are. But the ones that are connected to and being raised by this dominant pop culture, it's the sulking, brooding teenager that thinks he's smarter than his parents. And that's what's been modeled to them. That's what they see. And that just makes it harder for us to relate. And then man and man and man and woman, I'm going to leave that alone for now. I've got some ideas on that, but let's just move on a little bit. Otherwise, this could get kind of lengthy. All right, so no wives, no friends. Take children taken from their mothers at birth. Our culture is headed towards that. You look at it just statistically. The rate of marriage is dropping. I talk to people that are in their 20s and 30s, and less of them are married, less of them want to be married, and some of the women, they don't even want kids. They're cut off from that. And so that's part of the conditioning that they've been brought up with their whole lives, and it's working. And you add that to the over sexualization, sort of hookup culture. It's just and all the propaganda you see on TV and movies that relationships are kind of a hassle. Oh, who wants to be married? What a drag. I mean, it's on and on and on, and that programming is working. We are being driven apart, and it gets a little bit. And I think we're moving in the direction of this next comment. Children will be taken from their mothers as one takes eggs from a hen. So you look at right now with the growing power of the state and what they're trying to do to impose their will against the parents. I mean, it goes back. I remember, 10 years ago under Obama? What was that chick with the tampon earrings on MSNBC? Oh my God, I can't remember her name. Thank God. In the commercial or that little segment she did about, we got to stop thinking about the way we see children as belonging to their parents. They belong to the community. They belong to all of us. And really, she's talking about the government. So that was early conditioning, early sort of laying the seeds, and then they start ramping up from that. And so you're seeing more and more of this where like now it's the trans agenda is really going to accelerate that because, even before, if you were 14, 15, and you got pregnant as a girl and you wanted to have an abortion, you could go to your school and get that done, and they wouldn't tell your parents. And so the institutions, education connected to government power, is eroding the rights of the parents, and you're seeing that more and more. The trans agenda. If little Johnny is 7 years old and says he wants to be a girl, and the parents resist that and say no, and he goes to school and complains, next thing you know, you've got DHS in your living room and they're taking your kids away. Some states are putting laws in place. I think California might even have laws in place. So it's insane. And this is where it leads. They're eventually going to just break that tie, and we're going to be talking, that's the Brave New World sort of agenda where, kids come out of factories, right? And you can make them however you want them. So as crazy and dystopic as that sounds, they're kind of nudging us in that direction. And this next section here, the sex instinct will be eradicated. Procreation will be an annual formality like the renewal of a ration card. So relationships between men and women that's the foundation of the civilized society. Civil society was based on marriage and family, and the nucleus of the family is the man and the woman, right? So they're breaking that down. Divorce rates, hookup culture, all this stuff. The propaganda is just endless. But this reminded me, and this is, we're headed in that direction, folks. I don't know if you see it or not, but it's been on my radar for about 5-6 years when I kind of saw it start to come up. And every now and then you'll see articles. Every now and then you'll see, them kind of nudging it out into the, an article or a little TV snippet or a little video or something. And it's like, oh, look at this guy. He's got a relationship with his robot doll. Okay. And everybody rolls their eyes and thinks, what a crackpot this guy is, which is the kind of appropriate response, right? This guy's, it's just nuts, right? How can you have a relationship? And I think there was one that came out a couple of years ago where it's like, the wife knows it, and so he's got this girl, and she's just a doll at this point, right? So the technology is still in its infancy, but it's advancing rapidly. And so the merger of this sort of sex doll technology with AI and robot functioning, it's coming. And that's the ultimate end of civilization, because if you can program a robot to just be this perfect whatever, submissive, whatever you want, no fights, no arguments, no disagreements about family decisions and vacations and this and that and you name it, the endless things that as couples, I've been married, and had been in lots of serious relationships, and there's work involved, and it's worth it. There's nothing greater than the love between a man and a woman, and it serves a very important role in society, but they're trying to break it down and they're trying to make it look easy and beneficial if you just, hey, let's just get you a little doll. And there have been movies like that as well, about robot. I can't think of the name of one that just popped into my head, but it was like he had like a hologram, and it might have been, I'm not even going to try to name which one it was, but he had like this hologram companion, and it was a dystopian future, and she was kind of his, and he lived in this sort of bubble, this little shell, and it was just him, and then this person showed up, this hologram appeared when he was at home and kind of was his company. That's it. So kind of empty. But one of the things I saw this, I was scrolling through on, I don't know if it was Netflix or Amazon, scrolling through movies, and I came across one that to me is really, this is the marquee movie that's telling us what's in store. And it is aptly named 2050, because by 2050, this will be a reality. They got to go through the normalization process. First, they have to refine the technology, and I think they're getting pretty close to that. And then they've got to go through the normalization process. And you can see in this movie, that's kind of where they are. The normalization process is not quite complete. They're still kind of like this, what are you doing? So I thought I'd play this trailer just to give you an idea. And because this is a big deal, folks. If we give up our connection to other human beings, especially our primary relationships, it's game over for humanity. So this is a really big deal. So let's just take a look at this here.
That's the place.
And what is this?
It's a manufacturing parlor.
Sex bots.
They're programmed to know what you want, exactly what's expected of them. But they don't complain, they don't argue, they don't manipulate. They just love.
What are you looking for?
Hi, Michael. I'm Sophia.
No, I know you're not real. Because if you're real, then I'm cheating on my wife.
How could falling in love be a bad thing? You make someone smile. That is your potential.
So who is she? The woman you're seeing.
You're letting me win.
You like to win.
It's fucking torture. I'm smiling because you fell in love with one of my machines. You're welcome.
Oh, in select theaters, Valentine's Day. I mean, come on. And you see the marketing there where best this, best that. So all of the Hollywood sort of voices that you're supposed to bow down to are telling you that this is a great film that you should watch because it's so culturally impactful and important to our society. Well, you just saw it there, folks. That's 2050. It's an interesting movie. I watched the whole thing. It's not bad. It's not great. It's worth watching if you've got nothing better to do and you're interested in this sort of stuff like I am. Pretty much anything that is impacting our culture and our future that they're sort of predictively programming to us. I love watching that stuff because my brain just can't get enough, soaking it up, trying to figure out what's their next move, trying to connect the dots and trying to really understand all of this world that they're pushing us towards. So this is a good movie that I think encapsulates better than anything else I've seen this aspect of it. The sex robot deal is a big deal. It's a very big deal. So if it's not on your radar in terms of your sort of cultural awareness and where they're nudging us to, I highly recommend it. And that's kind of what they're saying here. They're breaking us down. So again, you can see in 2 pages, it's just boom, 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 boom. And then this kind of sums it up. All competing pleasures will be destroyed, but always do not forget this, Winston. Always there will be the intoxication of power, constantly increasing and constantly growing subtler. Always at every moment there will be the thrill of victory, the sensation of trampling on an enemy who is helpless. If you want a picture of the future, imagine a boot stamping on a human face forever. Amen. There's just so much just in that statement alone. Destroying competing pleasures. You will bow to them, and they are going to eliminate anything that doesn't conform to their agenda. There's a movie, I didn't pull it up, but it's worth putting on your list of movies to watch that and it's called Equilibrium. It's about 20 years ago. And really, not the best done is in terms of just entertainment value, but again, in terms of subject matter, very much worth watching. And the main guy in it is what's his name? Bale, Christian Bale, the American Psycho guy. So he's the main guy. Kind of didn't have the biggest budget, but basically, you will be happy and you will like it. And if you don't, you resist it at all, you will be hunted down and murdered mercilessly. That's basically the movie. It's and that's really, I mean, that's where we're headed. And basically, that's just communism with better rhetoric. They just make it sound a little bit better. And in that movie, Equilibrium, you take a drug every day that keeps you from feeling your instinctive, natural instincts of independence, and you kind of wake up to just this con job that you're living in, and these resistant groups, are able to break away from it, and then it's just battle between them, just trying to not just get exterminated. It's like I said, interesting watch. So yeah, all competing pleasure will be destroyed, and this is really if you want to understand the mindset of these lunatics, this is it, man. Always there will be the intoxication of power, constantly increasing and constantly growing subtler. So that's an interesting one. That's an interesting comment. Constantly increasing, constantly growing subtler. I kind of feel that because a lot of people don't realize how the power structure is sort of building. But it's the bulk of humanity is sitting in this little bubble of, oh, everything's fine. Oh, don't rock the boat. Oh, it's cool. Oh, stop making noise. And it's just this weird complacency, compliance space that a lot of people are moving into as this power structure is getting stronger and stronger. So I thought that was an interesting correlation there about it increasing while it's growing more subtle as people become more and more compliant and conditioned to compliance as they were tested in 2020 with COVID. And always at every moment there will be the thrill of victory, the sensation of trampling on an enemy who is helpless. That's who they are. And if you think that you can I'm just going to leave it. I'm just going to be over here living my best life. And I'm not going to bother with them. I won't bother them. They won't bother me. I won't make any waves. I'm not out on social media trying to wake people up. I'm just over here living my life and they'll leave me alone. No, they're not going to leave you alone. They're not going to leave you alone. I've texted, or not texted, on social media, one of my hashtags, they're coming for everybody. And so if you live out in the suburbs somewhere and you've got a little, 20 acres, 10 acres, and you're connected to the city a little bit. You got kids that are in school and playing soccer or whatever, and you just got your little group, and you go to church, and nobody ever talks about any of this stuff. And everybody's in their little normie world, thinking that they're going to be okay, and that us crackpots out here, tinfoil hat guys trying to wake people up, we're just causing trouble, or however your take is on that. If any of you are listening. They're not going to leave you alone. You have two choices. Fight this or be destroyed by it. That's it. And right now, fighting it is basically the info war is our primary weapon, and is trying to wake enough people up that our pushback becomes significant. And I believe in that. I think there's some power in that. So, the thrill of victory, trampling on an enemy who is helpless. They love to conquer and destroy and humiliate and debase and demoralize their underlings, their useless eaters. I mean, they look at us like filth, which is how I look at them. They're filth. They're demonic, sadistic, psychotic filth. I wouldn't waste my spit on them. They're just the lowest form of scum that walks the face of the earth, and they've managed to put on a nice, Bill Gates in his little pink sweater. They're got a pink sweater, we're going to have another one, and boy, I'm really worried about this one. It's going to be bad. Yeah, right, because he's helping concoct it, plan it, and then roll it out. So these people are monsters, and they will never care about you or respect you. So, get in the game. Fight back. Help us fight back, in whatever way we can. If you want to picture the future, imagine a boot stamping on a human face forever. And that's what they want. There's this depopulation agenda that they want to kill down to about 500 million people. And those 500 million, it's the boot stamping. It's 1984. And they will just revel in their power over us and their complete disconnect from humanity, and no compassion or love or understanding or feelings of nothing. They just want to dominate and destroy. So this book says it all. I mean, there's tons in this book that really echoes a lot of this. I mean, it's a good read. But these 2 pages, and if you go through my social media, you'll see it every couple of months or so. I'm posting something on this because just keep getting it out there. Just read these 2 pages and understand these 2 pages. This is the agenda. This is what they're doing, and this is who they are. Maybe more importantly, this is who they are. So don't try to reason with them. Don't try to just think they're going to leave you alone. They're not. Get involved, get engaged, recognize how real all this is, and let's see what we can do while we still have a little bit of whatever you want to call this version of reality. You want to call it freedom? Okay, liberty, whatever. I don't know even what to call it anymore, because they're steamrolling us right now with their agenda. And 2030, 2040, 2050, by 2050, and that's what gets me. People my own age. I mean, I'll probably be dead by then. I mean, 20 some years. But people my age, you got kids and grandkids, and you're not doing anything, trying to do anything about this, and you're just ignoring it. You're sentencing your kids and grandkids to absolute, just demonic slavery and pure hell. And I give you no pass for that. I give you no pass for saying you just don't want to be bothered or you've got better things to do, okay? Your kids, your grandkids are going to suffer immensely. I think of that, who was it who said, if there be trouble, let it be in my day, so that my children may know peace. Okay? One of our founding fathers, it's escaping me, I'm sure I could. Thomas Paine, I believe. That's it. Find your instincts, break the conditioning. We are the descendants of warriors and great fighters that conquered and defended civilization for hundreds and thousands of years. We are those descendants. And people need to wake up to that instinct in them. And I don't know how to do it. I talk to people and I just try to plant seeds as best I can, as I hope everybody else does too. But anyway, not to go on a long jag about that. Hopefully more and more people will wake up. Appreciate any comments that you have, and look forward to talking to you on the next one. All right? Later.